In antiquity, certain ethical standards distinguished what it meant to be a good woman. Good women had a sense of control over their sexuality by remaining chaste, which was an important trait to be considered a good woman. Privacy about a woman's sexuality intertwined closely with other expectations of women, as demonstrated by the separation between the public sphere and the private sphere. Men dominated the public sphere, while women remained in the private sphere of the home. If women were confined to the private sphere, it meant that as sexual beings, they didn't interfere with the public sphere. To be considered chaste requires sexual fidelity, modest dress, and seclusion. Women's sexuality was preserved and protected by staying in the private sphere. Essentially, chastity implied a female's dependence and vulnerability to her male counterpart outside of the home.
The physical act of sex also represented the social imbalance between men and women. Men were viewed as the dominant partner in sexual relations, while women were the passive partners. Sex was an expression of a male's sexuality, yet a woman was not supposed to express her sexual desires, even within the privacy of her own home. Men were in control in their intimate relationships within the home. Sexual dominance reinforced a man's power in the political and social spheres. For instance, it was degrading for a man's sexuality to be compared to that of a woman because uncontrolled sexuality was perceived as dangerous and threatening to social order.
Similarly, the physical anatomy of men and women can be used to explain the gendered roles in antiquity. While people are aware of the doubled standards that exist among men and women, they don't like to address where that injustice hails from, which allows these to be reinforced in society time and time again. The penis, the male's reproductive organ, represents the public sphere because it is outside of his body. On the other hand, the vagina, the woman's reproductive organ, represents the private sphere because it dwells within her body. Consequently, a woman's sexuality must be hidden in the home as her vagina is, while a male's sexuality is free to roam around in public as his penis is.
When women gained access to the public sphere or were publicly recognized, their chastity was questioned. To question a woman's sexual choices reinforced what it meant to be a virtuous woman, and it was used to prevent women from gaining the same respect as a man would in public. When women spoke in the public sector, they were viewed as exercising male virtues and would be criticized for abandoning their female virtues. A woman's honor was equivalent to her reputation, and sexuality was a medium used to suppress women's power and social status. Being deemed shameless represented a woman who did not care about keeping her sexuality private. To be an honorable woman meant there was an avoidance of all appearances of sexual indiscretion.
In modern days, this view of women's sexuality may sound absurd. Unfortunately, the virtues in antiquity are quite similar to those in existence today. A man's sexuality is not a hotly debated topic, as they are supposed to, or even encouraged, to express their carnal desires, and it is not deemed inappropriate. Still, women are often criticized for being cavalier about their sexual desires and embracing their sexuality. For instance, men tend to sleep around as much as they'd like, but once they're ready to settle down, they want a good woman. What about all the good women that were hurt in the process of his sexual conquests? And women, on the other hand, are prized possessions to be rewarded under the circumstance that if they remain pure and virtuous, a man will come along to claim her. There she seeks to explore her sexuality as her male counterpart does, and she is slut-shamed.
In modern society, women have gained access to the public sphere without it seeming threatening. Nevertheless, if she is in a position of power, her rise to that power is questioned. Did she sleep with the boss, or is she being promiscuous at work? Does she dress in a way to gain male attention? Despite the power we gain access to, our abilities will always be questioned because we weren't meant for the public sphere. And while sexuality is one of the virtues that have yet to evolve with time, we've yet to see and embrace the power of women.